Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Kerbal Space Program. This episode is going to be a little bit different. Rather than continuing the mission to get to the moon, it's going to be an episode about how to orbit Kerbin. I've gotten a couple requests for a video like this, so I decided I'd go ahead and make one, simply because this video isn't going to be terribly long, and hopefully it'll help some of you out. So I'm going to assume a couple things. I'm going to assume you, of course, have the starting technology, but I'm going to assume that you have basic rocketry unlocked and stability. The reason for that is in basic rocketry, it's going to give us the fuel tanks we're going to be using for the tutorial, as well as the stack decoupler. And in stability, it's going to give us our radial decoupler. So make sure you have these unlocked. These should really be the first two things you unlock, in all honesty anyways. So without further ado, let's go ahead into the vehicle assembly building. And we're going to go ahead and create our rocket. It's going to be a pretty basic one. We're just going to throw a command module on here with a parachute, of course, so that nobody dies a horrible fiery death. And we are going to put a mystery goo canister, which you will have unlocked, and the Communitron 16, in case anything does go wrong and you just need to send all of your science data back. So going from top to bottom here, we're going to want to add a stack decoupler. And then from there, we're just going to take 4 of these FL T400 fuel tanks and make a stack. Just like so. And then at the very bottom, where you're going to be using the LV T30 liquid fuel engine, which you will have unlocked as well. And then back into structural, we're going to take some of these radial decouplers, and we're going to hit X until we have 4 of them set up like so. Throw those on there, as well as 4 RT10 solid fuel boosters. Just line them up, make sure they're on the decouplers. They are. And we're going to throw a couple wings on here just for increased handling as we are going up and before we exit the atmosphere. We're also going to take 4 stack decouplers and throw them at the bottom of the solid fuel boosters, and then put 4 modular girder segments on the bottom of those. And that's just going to help prevent the solid fuel boosters from essentially destroying our main engine upon takeoff. So that's about it. That's the entire rocket that we have built here, and this is going to give us an orbit around Kerbin. So let's head out to the launch pad. And make sure to take one more look at your staging, just to make sure everything is where it should be. You want these bottom 4 decouplers to fire at the same time as your solid fuel boosters. And then you want your radial decouplers to go after that to knock these guys off, because they're just going to be dead weight when they run out of fuel. And then you want your main engine, and then your last decoupler, which we will use when we come back towards the planet. So go ahead and hit T to turn SAS on. That's going to keep you in an upwards facing motion. And go ahead and hit spacebar, and we are off. So once these solid fuel boosters run out, we will hit spacebar one more time to activate our radial decouplers to knock those off, because they are going to be dead weight. So we'll go ahead and throw those guys off, hit spacebar again to activate your main engine and throttle up. We got a little bit of tilt going on from that decoupling, but nothing to worry about. Once you hit anywhere from 9,500 to 10,000 meters up, go ahead and start turning over towards this 90-degree marker. That's going to be D on your keyboard. And just from the nature of this rocket, it's going to be a little bit hard to turn over, but it will eventually. You just kind of have to be a little bit patient with it here. And you want to try to get it right on this 90 degree mark as best you can. And once you have it there, go ahead and hit M to open up your map view. And we're just going to keep an eye on our apoapsis. And once our apoapsis, which is the highest point in an orbit around a planet, goes anywhere from 75,000 to 80,000, I would say, meters high, we're going to hit X to cut off our main engine. And then we're going to set up a maneuver node to achieve an orbit around the planet. So we're about 50,000 right now. I'm going to go ahead and throttle down just a bit here because we are out of the thickest part of the atmosphere. Alright, so now that we're at 80,000 meters for apoapsis, I went ahead and cut the engine, and we're just going to drift upwards towards the highest point in this arch. What we want to do is we want to create a maneuver node right at our apoapsis, and we're going to drag this marker across here until we see a periapsis appear. A periapsis is going to be our lowest point in the orbit, and as long as that's around 80,000, we're going to be just fine. So it's at 78, our apoapsis is at 82. That's going to be just fine for us here. So we're going to go ahead and tilt our rocket over towards this blue marker here. And at about 18 seconds before the burn, we're going to go ahead and start our engine up. So go ahead and throttle the engine all the way back up here, and keep pointed at this blue marker as best you can. And you're gonna have a little bit of wobble just because this rocket isn't the best in terms of structural balance, I guess you could say. But it is good enough to get the job done, as you can see here. So as you approach orbit, this marker is going to start shifting around a little bit, and once you've completed that maneuver node, you should be able to go ahead and get it off of there. Our periapsis is 71,000, which is a little low. I'm going to go ahead and try to bring it up just a little bit here. We have enough fuel left. There we go. So we're at 78,000 for our periapsis, 142,000 for our apoapsis. So not the best orbit in the world by any means, but we can of course correct this if we needed to or wanted to. But as of right now, we have achieved a full orbit around the planet. So while you're up here, you're going to want to make sure to get all the science you can get from your mystery goo. I can't get very much because I've already done this mission in this playthrough, but you can do a crew report, and you can even take Jeb out on an EVA. So you can do an EVA report over water, and you can do it over the shoreline, and then in the grasslands as well. So you can do 3 EVA reports while you're orbiting Kerbin for the first time, and pull in quite a bit of science from it, really. So we're going to go ahead and board our ship once more, and the only thing you need to do in order to take this vessel out of orbit is just rotate your nav ball over to the periapsis marker, or the retrograde marker. It's the circle with the X through it, and all you need to do is just go ahead and throttle up. And on the map here, it's going to lower our periapsis so that we have a crash course essentially back towards the planet. So go ahead and use just all the fuel you can, just because we're not taking it home with us anyways, so. And then what you can do here as well is while you're still pointed towards your periapsis, you can decouple this last stage. That's going to fall back down towards the planet, and from here it's just a matter of speeding time up and and landing safely back on the planet, which is going to be pretty easy, especially if you're over water. We're going to have some atmospheric re-entry going on here in just a second. You can see that taking place just there. You can see the rest of our rocket flying down towards the surface there away from us. And from here you can go ahead and just, you can pop your parachute at about 500 meters from the surface of the water. It's going to fully deploy. And that's it. So that is a successful orbit around the planet of Kerbin, and you should be getting plenty of science from it, especially if you are taking your time with those EVAs and getting the Easy 3, which is just over the water, on a shoreline and over the grasslands. They're pretty easy to get. It just takes a little bit of time. So once you're splashed down, go ahead and recover the vessel. And I should say you can also take a surface sample from the ocean, so make sure to do that, or the grassland if you land there, either one. But that'll definitely give you some extra science as well. So I hope this was helpful, and let me know if you have any other questions or anything like that. I'd be more than happy to answer them. And until next time, have a good one.